A very good morning, children. Hope all of you are fine by the grace of God. So, we are going to meet after a gap of few days. So, welcome back and going to start our biology class. So, today we are going to learn our chapter 16, that is management of natural resources. But before starting your lesson, please be ready with your book, and when you are watching the video, please go through your last chapter also. Okay? So let's start our lesson, management of natural resource. Now student, what is a natural resources means? Okay, before starting this lesson, it is important to know that what is a natural resources means. Now here definition is given. Anything in the environment which can be used is called a natural resource. So anything whichever we are getting from our nature or whichever we are getting from our environment, and that one we are using is known as the natural resources. Okay. Some of our important natural resources are forest and wildlife, water, coal and petroleum. So these are the some of our natural resources, very important natural resources which we want in our day-to-day life. That is the forest and wildlife, water, coal and petroleum. Okay. The system of controlling the use of natural resources in such a way as to avoid their wastage and to use them in the most effective way is called management of natural resources. Now, what is it? Management of natural resources. So, what it is? A system. It is a system which can control the use of natural resource in such a way that we avoid the wastage. Okay, because natural resources, if waste, then maybe in the future it is very difficult for us to get. Okay, that's why it is the management means to control the use of natural resources and to avoid their wastage and to use them in the most effective way is called the management of natural resources. Okay, understood? The natural resources are a tool of development for human beings, but it should not be sustainable development. The development which meet the current basic human needs and also preserve the resources for the needs of future generation is called sustainable development. So now what is a sustainable development? Whatever the resources we are getting from the nature, we can use that in a full way. Means you can use whatever you want, how much you want that natural resources, you can use it, but you have to preserve it for the future use also. That is called the sustainable management. But nowadays we people are using the natural resources, but we are not preserving them for the future. Okay, that's why we are using the natural resources, but sustainable development is not there. But we have to use the natural resources with the sustainable development also. Okay, because if we use today and if we waste them, then in the future, in our future generation, they will not get the benefit from the nature. These natural resources they will not get. Okay, so we have to use the natural resources in sustainable development. And to protect the environment from harm or destruction is said to conserve the environment. In this chapter, we will describe how to use our natural resources so as to achieve sustainable development as well as to conserve our environment. So, to protect our environment, we have to use the natural resources and we have to protect our environment from harm and destruction also. Okay, and that is called the conserve the environment. If we will not conserve the environment, if we will not use the natural resources in proper way, then in future we will not get a benefit from our nature. Okay, that's why we have to use it, we have to conserve our natural resources. And in this chapter we will learn about that only, how to conserve our natural resources and how to use our natural resources in sustainable development way. Okay, now one question is there: why do we need to manage our resources? Why it is important, or why it is required to manage our resources? All the things which we use, such as food, cloth, furniture, fuel, vehicles, water, etc., are obtained from the resources on this earth. So whatever we are getting, we are using, like food, cloth, furniture, fuel, vehicles, water, etc. Fuel. If vehicles are there and fuels are not there, then can you run the vehicles? No. So fuel, that is petroleum, where from we are getting from the nature. And if we use the fuel in a more amount, or you can waste the fuel, then what will happen? Slowly it will be decreased from the nature, and in our future it will be not available. Okay, that's why we have to manage it, we have to conserve it. Okay, so everything, food, cloth, furniture, fuel, vehicles, water, etc., we are getting from our earth. We need to manage our natural resources because of the following reason. Why we need to preserve or manage our natural resources? Here are the reasons. Some reasons are given. Okay, so let's learn the reasons. The resources of the earth are limited. Whatever the resources are present in the earth, they are limited. Means everything, there will be some limit are there, no? At your home also, every month you are getting the food, you are getting the ration, or you are getting the grocery things in a limited way. You are not getting available and you are wasting like that. It's some limit on, no? Then 1 month will finish, 1 month going to be finished, your grocery also going to be finished, because it has some limit. Same thing here also, in our nature also, in our earth also, the every resources are in limit. It is limited. Because of the rapid increase in human population, demand for resources is increasing day by day. So look, nowadays our populations are increasing day by day, and need of the people is increasing. Because population increasing means more things are required, more needs are required. So demand for the resources is increasing day by day. So demand resources also require more. Okay, the proper management can ensure that the natural resources are used judiciously, so that they fulfill the needs of present generation and also last for the generation to come. So if we do the proper management of the natural resources, then what will happen? It fulfill our needs, and it will preserve, or it will remain for the future generation also. But if we will not think, if we will not manage our natural resources, then what will happen? Okay, we will get our natural resources in enough, but maybe in our future generation they will not get the resources. Okay, that's why we have to use the resources in a proper way, that we can get the benefit of that, plus our next generation also get the benefit. Okay, the proper management of natural resource takes into consideration long-term perspective and prevent their exploitation to yield for short-term gains. So the proper management of natural resources, what happen? It will consider long-term perspectives, or long-term view means where it is looking for the future also. Okay, so and prevent their exploitation to yield for the short-term gains. Number 3, the proper management can ensure equitable distribution of natural resources, so that all the people can benefit from the development of these resources. So proper management, what happen? What doing? It can ensure that equitable distribution, equal distribution of the natural resources will be get for all the people. Okay, they means all the people will get a benefit of natural resources in an equal amount, and also developed these resources for the future also. Number 4, the proper management will take into consideration the damage caused to the environment during the extraction or use of the natural resources and find ways and means to minimize this damage. For example, if some forest trees have to be cut for various purposes, then the damage to the environment can be minimized by planting new sapling in place of cut down trees. So, proper management, what it is doing, if somehow the environment will be damaged when we are taking the resources or when you are using the resources, so management, they are finding way to minimize the damage. Suppose look, now forest, every day forests are cut down. Why? For the land. Why? For building the houses, for doing the commercial purposes, making a shop and all, to make build a road, okay, for everything. So these things, and these are also important part of our life, because we need a house to live, we need a shop or need a commercial purpose, some things to earn the money, we need a road to travel easily from one place to another. So these things are required. This is our life, no, it is important for our life. So for that, if we're doing for that, then what will happen? We are damaging our environment. Okay, but if you properly manage the natural resources, then what will happen? When you cut down some trees from the forest, in place of that, new sapling will be planted. Okay, so this is the natural management of natural resources will be doing. Okay, now forest and wildlife. A large area of land on which trees and other plants grow naturally is called a forest. What is a forest? It is what? It is a large area of land on which trees and different plants are grow naturally. No one is planting them, they are growing naturally. All the animals, they are surviving, they are living on that place from a long time before, and they are living in it naturally. Okay, nobody is built for them. That is called the forest. And the wild animals like lion, tiger, elephant, deer, snakes, etc., and birds which live in a forest are called wildlife. And what is a wildlife? All the animals, all the birds, all the small and big animals, whatever are living in that particular place are called as the wildlife. Okay. The plants and animals of a forest are called flora and fauna respectively. So maybe all of you know about that. The plants and animals which are present in that particular place are called as the flora and fauna of that particular place. Due to the presence of a large number of species, forests are said to be biodiversity hotspot. So, due to the presence of large species of flora and fauna, different types of plants and animals, forests are said to be a biodiversity hotspot. One of the main aim of the management of forest and wildlife is to conserve the biodiversity which we have inherited. So, one of the main aim of the management of forest and wildlife is what? To conserve the biodiversity which we have inherited. Means we are belong to that forest. We are getting, means we are inherited means what? We are belonging from that forest, or we are belong to that forest. Okay, so that is called the inherit. We are getting that one like our parents. We are getting something from our parents. Same thing, we are getting something from that forest. So it is our inherited. It is like our property. We can say it. Okay. This is because the loss of biodiversity led to the loss of ecological stability of the forest ecosystem. We will now discuss the various stakeholders in the management of forest and their aspirations. Okay, so if we lose the biodiversity, that means what will happen? Our ecological balance will be unbalanced. Okay, we need in our environment everything's are balanced, because one organism may depend on the other organism for their life or for their things. If it will damage, then it will be imbalance in our ecological stability and the ecosystem. Okay, now here we will discuss about the stakeholder in the management of forest and their aspiration. Okay, what is stakeholder called? A person with an interest or concern in something is called a stakeholder. Stakeholder means what? A person who are having an interest and having a concern about something. Okay, means those who are having an interest about to conserve the forest, about the wildlife, they are thinking of the animals, they are thinking about the forest, are called as the stakeholder. Okay, when we consider the management of forest, we find that there are 4 stakeholders in it. So when we consider to manage the wildlife or forest, then we will get a 4 stakeholder in it. These are the people who live in and around the forest and are dependent to some extent on forest produce to lead their life. So the people who are living nearby the forest or who are living around the forest and they are depending in some extent to the forest or the forest product are led to their life. Like some are living nearby the forest, they need a wood for fuel, okay, for cooking their food, okay, to sell the wood to earn the money. So they are depending on the forest. So that is their stakeholder of that forest. The forest department of the government, which owns the forest land and control the resources from the forest. So department, forest department, that is a government officers or office who are having a responsibility to control the resources of the forest and to conserve the forest. They are having a responsibility, they are getting a responsibility. Okay. Third, the industrialist who use various forest products for their factories, such as wood for making paper and furniture and tendu leaves for making beads, etc. So the industrialists who are taking a forest product for earning their factories, for running their factories, or for earning the money for commercial purpose, they are also called the stakeholder. Number 4, the forest and wildlife activists who want to see the forest in their pristine form, original conditions. We will now describe what each of these stakeholder groups need or get out of the forest. The people who live in villages around the forest take firewood from the forest tree. They usually lop the branches of the tree and pluck their leaves, but do not cut down the whole trees. So what they are doing, those who are living nearby the forest, they are taking the branches and leaves from the tree, but they are not cutting down the tree. So they need that for the firewood or for the fuel and from the forest tree. So they are thinking about the forest. Bamboo from the forest to make their huts and baskets for collecting and storing food materials. The local people take wood for making agriculture implements and gather fruits, nuts and medicinal herbs from the forest. They also collect green fodder and graze their cattle in the forest. On the whole, people living near the forest usually use the resources of the forest in a way that much damage is not done to the environment. In fact, the people living near forest had developed practice to ensure that the forest resources were used in a sustainable manner. So, the damage caused to forest cannot be attributed to only the local people living around the forest. Okay. Next, the forest department has a major stake in the resources of forest and wildlife because it is a good source of revenue for the government. Revenue means they are getting some benefit, or you can say they are getting a money purpose. Revenue means the earning money. Okay. Most of the forest revenue comes from the sale of cut down forest trees for timber. So how they are getting the money? What is their revenue? Cutting and selling of the forestry timbers, which is wood used in building and furniture. In order to plant trees for timber such as pine, teak and eucalyptus etc., huge areas of forest are cleared of all vegetation. This destroys a large amount of biodiversity in the area, which harms the environment. The management of protected forest areas by keeping the local people out completely has some ill effect too. This will become clear from the areas from the following example. This will become clear from the areas following example. The Great Himalayan Natural Park is a protected forest area which contains alpine meadows that were earlier grazed by outside sheep in summer. So, nomadic shepherds drove their flock of sheep up from the valley to this area every summer. After the formation of Himalayan National Park, the grazing by sheep was not allowed. This has a harmful effect on the growth of vegetation because without regular grazing by sheep, the grass first grows very tall and then falls over, preventing fresh growth from below. The developmental projects like building roads through the forest area and construction of dams are also damaging the forest. Even the large inflow of tourists to the forest for observing wildlife, building rest houses for tourists within the forest and dumping of waste materials like plastic bottle etc. by the tourists in the forest are damaging the forest environment. So these are the very damaged. Okay, so making a build for the tourist, so it is have to clean the large area of the forest. Okay, and they are dumping the waste material like plastics and all nearby the forest that can damage the land or that can pollute the land, that harm the water bodies also. Okay, so student, that much for today's class. In the next class we will learn more about the stakeholders like industrialist and the forest and wildlife activist. Okay, so students, here is the your home assignment questions based on the today's class. Okay, so write down the answer and send me in group and watch the video properly, listen it carefully, and if you find any problem or if you did not understood anything, please ask me. Okay, have a nice day.